Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dan. As ever, I am the IT Geek. Welcome to another episode of the I Am IT Geek Tech book review. This is episode 6, I believe. Yeah, I think it's going to be the 6th book or 5th book I've reviewed. Fifth. How do I try to count in my head? So far I've reviewed the SC300 book by Dwayne Natwick. I've reviewed the Mastering Endpoint Manager book, Mastering AVD book, and the SC900 book, and we're going to another sort of exam preparation book now. The 4 topics or the 4 books that I've covered are all sort of areas where I'm quite, well, I like to think I'm quite knowledgeable. I've got a lot of experience in, Endpoint Manager, AVD, and the sort of security element of it of Microsoft 365. As I said, I was a tech book reviewer on the SC300 and the SC900. So again, comfortable subjects. This is the first book I'm going to review that I very much outside my comfort zone. It's not a topic that I know much about. So I'm going to be reviewing the MS-700 Managing Microsoft Teams Exam Guide. This is the 2nd edition that I'm going to be reviewing. There was a 1st edition. There's been updates since then, and now we're on the 2nd edition. So there was the 1st, and now we're on the 2nd edition. That book was a joint author venture. So that's done by Peter Rising and Nate Chamberlain, both Microsoft MVPs. I've spent a bit of time speaking to Peter before. I went on his podcast. So I was really looking forward to it. And again, with it being a subject that I'm doing a bit out of my comfort zone, Microsoft Teams, it's not my bag, I'll be honest with you. I use it as a user, I'm fine, but I've done very, very little as far as managing goes. But yeah, it's a topic that I really need to get up to speed with, I suppose. And this has been the perfect choice, perfect time to do it. Look, before I do get started, a little bit of news. You probably saw via my Twitter that I was renewed for my Microsoft MVP. So 2-time MVP wasn't a one-off, wasn't a fluke. So I want to thank obviously Microsoft and the MVP team, especially Claire Smith for all her support. So very, very happy with that. Hopefully I get my little badge thing soon to stick on my mantle, which I'm looking forward to. And also just a little bit of news around some upcoming content, as well as these book reviews I'm going to keep on doing because, I'll be honest, they're fun to do. I really enjoy doing them. I have a new series that I'm working on, which is going to be a collaboration with Dwayne. So this is a type of, if you look at my YouTube channel and sort of content I've done up until now, it's been very much, again, topics that I'm quite knowledgeable in, but it's been very high level, I suppose. I did the 0 to hero topics on AVD and Azure VMware solution, but what I've not done is any sort of deep dive exam content. So like we're looking at these books that are the preparation books really are they for the exams. I've not done any sort of YouTube content, so videos where we can do theory and labs. So again, I'm actually going to start collaborating with Dwayne, currently creating all the sort of content for that. We're going to start recording hopefully in a week or so. And yeah, we're going to create quite a big series on the SC300 exam. So it'll be all preparation, helping you with the theory and the sort of lab work and, showing you the labs as well and doing them. So hopefully people will find that helpful. Please do keep an eye out for it. But let's get straight into this book review. So again, just going to share my screen quickly. Yeah, so I'm using the Packt portal, my subscription that I have. This is the book that I don't have a physical copy of. So again, and to help kind of with these reviews, I thought it'd be better to use the portal and use the ebook. So my first thoughts really, again, it's a Packt book, so they're all so similar, and there's no difference in how this is set up. As far as it's got the standard sections, broken out of sections. So I believe there are 4, possibly 5 sections with this. If I go down, what section are we at? Go right down to the bottom. We have section, chapter. I'm pretty sure there's more. Chapter 18. section. I'm sure there's 4 sections. Yeah, 4 sections. There we go. 4 sections. The fourth section is the mock exams and the assessment. So I'll get into a bit more about that shortly. But 4 different sections. And what my first thoughts about reading this was it's got so many sort of, I would say it's got a lot of screenshots. It's got a lot of labs. It's got a lot, sort of, a lot of how to do this, how to do that. It does say managing Microsoft Teams. It is a managing book, and again, not knowing much about Teams from an admin perspective, it comes across as there's a lot to do. This my not my understanding, but from reading this book, it seems like there's a lot less theory involved in Microsoft Teams and a lot more. This is how you do the tasks. A lot more administration. I think that probably is why there is so much kind of. So if we go through, I'm going to go through chapter 1 to start with. We start off with a bit of theory and then we go straight into tables, lots of images, this is how we're straight into it. Chapter 1. With the other books that I've read, they've been more starting you off and, theory based, a lot of theory with some images, whereas this gets straight into it. This is how you do this. These are all the settings are. This is what you set here. So this is like the planning and configuration, network settings. So you're straight away getting into configuring the settings. And again, look at loads of screenshots. Now, if you're a very visual person, this is great. This book is definitely for you because it's so high on visual effects, so visual representation. And I'd say less theory behind it, but I honestly think that's actually Microsoft Teams. I don't think that's a negative aspect of this book. I'll be honest with you, I found it a bit difficult because I like to understand theory behind certain topics. Teams maybe isn't one of those topics that there is a lot of theory behind. It's more, this is how you do it. And that's what this book is essentially doing. It's got lots and lots of images, lots of tables. If we go down to like sort of chapter 2, a little bit of theory, talks about licensing. And again, we get into some tables and we get, this is a small chapter, so maybe a bad example. And we have a little bit of an image there. Let me go down, check on chapter 3. So this is again a planning and configuring one. I suppose this one was an identifying sort of licensing requirement, so probably less lab work. But again, planning and configuring, we're going to have lots of images in this chapter as well. Looking at understanding and assigning the team's admin roles. Good old Contoso. Again, we're back to loads of images. This is how you do. Very visual, very, very, very lab heavy. So as far as being able to do things within Teams, I know loads of that. But I don't know. Maybe there's not much to theory behind Teams. Maybe that's kind of my grasp or something I probably take away from this book. Very well written. It's very, very straightforward language. It doesn't go into jargon at all. The labs are very easy to follow. Very well explained. Not very convoluted. And yeah, like I said, a lot of the chapters are planning and configuring different aspects. So I just think it shows maybe how, as in a topic, Teams, how lab heavy Teams is, how much you need to have actual hands-on experience of doing Teams. Whereas, let's look at Azure, for example. There's a lot of theory behind Azure, the storage for networking. You need to have to implement it, but you need to understand, networking as a topic. You need to understand storage as the theory behind it. You don't have that here. It's all very hands-on. You just need to look at the titles of the chapters, really. Creating and managing, planning and managing chat and collaboration experiences. Again, if we just start browsing down this, after a bit of theory and some tables, we'll get straight into images again. Loads of labs. PowerShell. And again, at first I thought, wow, there's not a lot of theory and a lot of images and but then the more I got into it, I kind of realised, well, I think that's what Teams is. So really good job in getting that across, in my opinion, from Nate and Peter. Again, there's certain things that I've commented on in the other books that I found they were missing. This actually isn't missing those things. So if we look at let's look at chapter 11 here. If we go down, they've got practice questions. So after each chapter, there's practice questions, and not 2 or 3. They've got like a good chunk, like 10 practice questions. Whereas even my book didn't have 10. The book that me and Victor wrote, I don't think we had 10. We had maybe a couple of knowledge check. We saved a lot of our questions till the end. What this does is this has actually a smaller assessment. It only has about 25 questions in the assessment at the end of the book, which I'll get into. Another thing that I really like about this book is, again, there's loads of managing and configuring and implementing and, loads of that sort of stuff going on. My mouse works. But then we do actually go into monitoring and reporting and troubleshooting. I think it's so important to cover these topics in an exam, for an exam, should I say, because you will end up with questions like that. So it's like I said, some of the other books that I've read, I think I mentioned about the AVD book, I felt like I could have had some troubleshooting in it. I actually spoke, I've been messaging Ryan about that, and he really liked that feedback. But this covers that, chapters 14 and 15, all about monitoring and reporting. Just click onto there. So again, goes into where can you find the reports, where can you find the labs. Hey, picture of Peter. And then as well as that, if we're going to troubleshooting, my mouse does not want to seem to work. It knows that I'm recording. Where are we? There we are. Chapter 15. I think my batteries need changing. Again, go down, helping you understand how to troubleshoot, where you can find help, how you can log tickets. A bit more theory based around this, but again, more images. And again, an aspect of, especially for exam books, I think it's vital. And this covers it. This definitely covers it. I'll be honest with you, again, without knowing teams very well, I feel like this covers a lot of the exam. Would I be comfortable taking the exam? Personally, no, I wouldn't. That's not to say that this book will prepare you for it, but I've gone through this book, I've read the book, I've not completed the labs because I just didn't, because I was reading it for this sort of review, so I've read the book, but I've not done the labs. I think if I did the labs, I'd feel a lot better, more comfortable, but I'd still want to do some hands-on experience. I'd still want to do this sort of stuff in production before I felt comfortable. And I think that comes with any of the associate level. So this is the MS-700. This is an associate level exam. This isn't like a fundamentals exam. I think you still need at least 6 months to a year experience, hands-on, with teams, managing teams, before you're ready to take this exam. That's with all associate exams for Microsoft. That's not just this one. Something else I really like about this, and this is just, again, kudos to Nate and Peter, really, the further reading bit. Again, there's just so many links in here. So, Peter and Nate are not pretending this book has all the answers, and that's just great. It's very they're very humble to say, you know what, our book is not the be and end all. There's so many more links you can use. Make sure you check out all these links, and obviously they're all Microsoft links, but they're all valid links. And this is Nate and Peter saying to the reader, make sure you do this additional reading because it will help you in your exam. So again, every chapter has the further reading, and I think that's just a really nice touch. And if we go down, I think I want to talk about the mock exam, didn't I? Yeah. So one thing I really like about the mock exam is these case studies. We didn't do case studies. We did very kind of single answer sort of questions in mine and Victor's book. And I think the other books that I've seen did very similar, but these case studies are really good because they're very similar to what you're going to get in the Microsoft exam. So I do really like the case studies. I think that's a really nice touch, and so important for people to test themselves on. It does multiple choice questions as well. So there's 5 case studies and there's 20 multiple choice questions. And again, not as many questions as I thought there might be, but I think because they've done the case studies, they're much bigger case studies, are much bigger questions to write, and there's 5 of those. To me, that makes up for not having as many, individual questions. So, that being said, I think there's plenty of content here, question wise, to really give you an understanding of, do I know my stuff? And again, each chapter has 10 questions at the end of it. So you count all that up, add all that up, there's how many chapters? 15 chapters. 15 chapters. There's 50 questions on their own. So add the 25 questions, you're talking almost 70, 75 questions, and that's 5 of those are case studies. So as far as I'm concerned, there's loads of questions and assessment stuff on here, which is great. And again, recommending, and this is the Packt thing as well, I think, recommending other books that you might be interested in. So this one, there's Dwayne's book. Nobody mentions my book. Why? What's wrong with my SE400 book? I'm joking. So yeah, again, a great read, and again, with me being out of my comfort zone a bit with teams, it was, I was there were things that I found a bit, like I said, that the amount of images and the amount of labs, I was like, oh man, is there any, I like to have a balance. Some people prefer, loads of labs, which I think will help. Because I'm new to teams, I was hoping for a bit more theory, if I'm honest. That's just me individually, though. That's not going to be everybody. So, but what I would say is this is a really good book to help you prepare. It's got loads of questions for assessment, loads of additional links if for further reading, and it's always recommended you do further reading, 100%. And Nate and Peter appreciate that, which is why they've added so many different links in there. A pretty well-sized book as well, 15 chapters. And they cover a lot of information. These aren't small chapters either. And that aspect of troubleshooting and reporting, which again, I felt some other books might be lacking that I've reviewed. I think this covers that as well. So yeah, personally, I it was an enjoyable read. Again, I've learnt loads from reading it. I know a little bit more about teams. So thank you, Peter. Thank you, Nate. And if you are looking to take the MS-700 exam, I could not recommend this book strongly enough. And it's obviously the second edition because there's been loads of updates to teams. So well done to Peter and Nate. Very, really, really good job. There'll be Peter and Nate's socials within the description. There will also be a link to buy this book. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Keep an eye out for more reviews in the upcoming months. I'm gonna keep on doing these. They might be a bit sporadic in between the sort of exam content that I'm going to start publishing, the labs and theory stuff. I'm going to the episodes of each exam section. So but again, any more recommendations, please ping me. I've got loads of books lined up. I just need some time to read them. This is the last book that I've read, so I need a bit of time to read, catch up on my reading. So thank you very much. And please do like the video, comment, and please don't forget to subscribe. So thank you very much, and until next time, thank you, goodbye.